Hey, it's Rachel from NTL Creativity, and I'm so excited to be able to talk about one of my favorite topics, which is, can adults take piano lessons? And the truth is, yes, they can. Okay, so I'll just, spoiler alert, yes. Here is what's really important to remember when we talk about these things. There's always a reason why you didn't do it before. And there's always a reason why someone might think it's not for me. And that's okay if that's valid. But if you're sitting here asking for permission to take piano lessons as an adult, I'm here to tell you, you are not too old. You still can learn. And I'm going to go through some of the reasons why and some of the unique challenges that you're going to face. Okay? So let's get started. Can adults take piano lessons? Or, in other words, is it weird to take piano lessons as an adult? I think it depends on whether or not you have an idea of what is right or what's not right. If you're kind of putting social convention aside, it's not weird to take piano lessons as an adult. In fact, a lot of students are probably going, hey, I wish I was like you. Okay, a lot of adults are like, I wish I was strong enough, I wish I was brave enough, whatever it is. Okay, so no, it's not weird to take piano lessons as an adult. Is it common? I've really only taught 4 or 5 students in my career how to play the piano as adults. But the flip side is I've only taught about 4 or 5 students who are under the age of 8. So the bulk of my students are actually kind of middle school age into high school age. And it's because that's when they start kind of developing interests in things like orchestra or in choir or other things like that. And their parents might have a little bit more money. So I don't think you need to worry about, is it weird or is it not weird? It's you. So hopefully, as we continue talking, you'll be able to kind of give yourself permission to explore piano lessons if that's something that you've always wanted to learn. And if that's not something you've wanted to learn, hopefully I'll also give you permission to let that go, let that guilt go, because there's no reason anyone should feel ashamed because they chose a different path. Okay, so here's the next slide. It's never too late to have a happy childhood. That is my mother's motto. Okay, I have always loved this. And I really, last year, when she mentioned it, I put it into practice by opening up Never Too Late Creativity. That's where we get our name, NTL Creativity. Okay, so you always have the chance to be creative. You always have the option of being creative. But what's really amazing is that even in this time where you have all of those options, you also get the chance to say, this is what I'm going to put my efforts into. Okay? So about me, I've been teaching private music lessons for 18 years. I also have 12 years of public school teaching and tutoring experience. I have a bachelor's in music, I have a master's in education, and I'm pursuing a doctorate in education. So I have a ton of experience, not just teaching, but also studying teaching and studying how to teach teaching and how to change mindsets. So that is really where I'm passionate. So I'm going to give you a chance to stop the video. Go ahead and pause it. And I want you to get a piece of paper if you don't already have a notebook or a piece of paper with you, okay? So go ahead and pause this video, and I'll see you in just a moment. All right, hopefully you've had a chance to get your paper and your pencil. We're going to do some journaling today as part of this video, okay? Again, as a teacher, I have you get your hands dirty, so to speak. So your first journal question is to finish this statement. I want to take piano lessons because. So just finish that statement. And if you don't want to take piano lessons, I'm surprised that you're still watching this video, but it's okay. You can finish that. You can change that to, I don't want to take piano lessons because, all right? But in a perfect world, imagine you have all the resources you want and all the time that you need. Why would you want to take piano lessons? Okay, now that you've written that, we're going to add another statement. The next statement is, I chose not to take piano lessons until now because. Everybody has reasons why they've chosen not to do something. Okay? It may have been a conscious choice. It may not have been a conscious choice. But what's amazing is that you have this chance to really identify why you chose not to do it until now. Or, on the flip side, to write down, why did you choose to start thinking about this now? All right, I hope that you paused the video anytime you needed more time. The next slide, we're going to start talking about strengths. Because the truth is, every learner who comes in my door has strengths and has weaknesses. And some of them are based on age group, and some of them are individual, and some of them are unknown. But here are some of the strengths that I've seen in adults who pursue taking piano lessons. First of all, you know you want this. Okay, you've had this dream planted in your heart since you were 4 years old, or you've consistently been denied and this is your status symbol, whatever it is. You now have a chance to do this, and you have years, decades maybe even, of pent-up longing that is going to fuel you through some of those difficult times. In addition, you know the value of money. Okay, so when you know that a $40 piano lesson means this much work, or you can identify, this person's time is worth this much, that is really helpful as you go into adult piano lessons. It also means that you're more likely to practice, okay? Because I've put all of this effort into studying with this teacher, and now I'm going to go out of the classroom and I'm going to put it into practice. Third, you know how you learn. It was remarkably helpful when one of my students came up to me and we were in a piano lesson and she said, I'm very analytical. I said, well, that's very helpful for me. So I was able to approach teaching her from a very analytical standpoint because she was able to say that's what she needed. And when I was able to answer questions that she hadn't quite understood or she hadn't put into the context that I had, I was able to say, oh, let me plug this hole for you. In addition, you know how to study. So you know that for every hour of class, you need to put in some work outside of class in order to be functional and to really learn material. And you also know how to work hard. So those are the 5 strengths that people have when they come to me as adults. Children are still deciding, do I want this? I don't know. They don't really have a concept of the idea of money. They don't know how they learn. For the most part, we're starting to see a trend in education where people are starting to talk about how people learn and what's helpful for them. So that is starting to change, which is helpful. But the flip side is they don't really know how to study as much because they're used to getting things instantly. And piano lessons does require that you put in a little bit of work and then you get to see the result. And finally, kids do know how to work hard, but they don't always see piano lessons as working hard. They see it as boring or as uninteresting. And so you have to find different ways to motivate them. Okay? So like I said, adults have some real strengths when it comes to piano lessons and really owning their learning. So here's this action step. Finish this statement. We're going to go back to that journal. When I was a kid, I couldn't, and I want you to fill in the blank with a skill that you did not have as a child. It might be prioritizing. It might be time management. It might be repetitive practice, whatever it is. When I was a kid, I couldn't insert a skill here. Okay. Now as an adult, I have learned to, and then fill in what you've learned. So maybe you didn't know how to clean up your room, for an example. This is not related to piano lessons. Maybe you didn't know how to clean up your room, but as an adult, you've learned how to create a system that helps keep your room clean so you don't have to go through the motions of picking things up off the floor. Does that make sense? So I want you to figure out what did you not know how to do as a kid that would have made piano lessons difficult as a kid? And what have you learned? What coping strategies and what skills have you learned in this amount of time that will actually help you be a better student? Okay. Once you have those two things done, I want you to add to the bottom of that page, this experience makes me a valuable piano student. Because the truth is, all of the life experience that you have that has brought you to this point does make you a valuable piano student. Okay? It makes you experienced. Maybe not in music, but in other things. And a high quality teacher is going to be able to bring all of that into your experience and your lessons. Okay? Next, we're going to talk about those challenges. So, obviously, every student has some challenges. For kids, it's interest level primarily. And it might also be that willingness to practice. So let's talk about some of the adult challenges that are unique to you. First of all, as adults, you have competing priorities. You've got kids, you've got work, you've got cleaning, you've got marriage, you've got your partner, whatever. You have so many things going on. That's okay. The right teacher, and we'll talk about that in a little bit, the right teacher will help you and be flexible when you face those competing priorities. But that's another thing. You can kind of make a plan for how to face those competing priorities, right? And we'll get to that in just a minute. All right, so the second challenge you might find is finding the right teacher. When I was taking piano lessons and when my mom was trying to find my first piano teacher, I could listen to a song and intuitively play something that sounded very like it on the piano. We call that playing by ear. You might be a student who was denied piano lessons because of this skill. Because for a long time people said, oh, we just can't teach people who have this natural ability, which is a great shame because people who can hear music and patterns are fantastic musicians. So the idea that you can't teach them is ridiculous in my opinion. But just like, going back. So my mom really had a hard time finding a piano teacher who would teach me because I did have the skill of being able to play by ear. And so there were no teachers who were willing to teach me the additional skill of reading music and work with my ability to play by ear instead of trying to remove it. So it took her a long time, and finally it took a conversation with a doctoral student or maybe a teacher who had a doctorate in music. I was 6. It was a long time ago. But it took a conversation with a family friend who had a lot of musical experience, who was willing to say, I normally teach college students, but yes, I will teach your 6-year-old. And once I'd already taken piano lessons, then it was easier to find another teacher. So you might find that you can't just do a broad search for piano teachers. You might have to find a teacher who's willing to be flexible with adult learners. Okay? And finally, you might have to confront decades-old insecurities. I still have to do this today, okay? I've been playing the piano, I've been taking lessons or playing the piano proficiently since I was 6 years old. But I've been basically musical my entire life, and I'm 35 years old, okay? And I still have to confront my insecurities from when I was 12. That doesn't make sense sometimes. It feels like that should be over. But what is valuable is you've been confronting decades-old insecurities in other parts of your life too. In your marriage, in your relationship with your kids, in your relationship with your siblings, in your relationship with your parents, maybe at church, maybe in other places in your life. Maybe you've been going to therapy. You've been facing insecurities that might be decades old and that might be haunted ghosts that are just coming up every so often. You've been doing that for a long time. Okay, so you might have to be brave and vulnerable with your teacher and say, I'm really insecure about this. But if you have the right teacher, they're going to be empathic and they're going to say, I'm here with you and I will help you work through this. Okay. All right. We've got another journal entry. I know you probably have this whole page that's just filled with stuff. So this time we're going to finish the statement. One challenge I will need to overcome to be able to take piano lessons is. Now, your challenge might be that you are on a fixed income in retirement and you'd really like to be able to pay for piano lessons, but you're not sure you can. So you need to overcome the payment issue, right? Or maybe one challenge you need to overcome to be able to take piano lessons is finding a system for practicing that's only about 5 minutes a day instead of 30 minutes or however many minutes you think you're supposed to sit down at the piano, okay? Just FYI, I have a course that I'm going to be teaching soon called Practice Smarter, Not Harder, and it is a 5-minute solution to practicing the piano every day. Okay, so hopefully that will be something that will help you out. But even if you have a challenge that you know you need to overcome that I haven't listed, I want you to go ahead and write down one thing that you know right now before you even called to see if someone's willing to take you as a student. I want you to write that thing down and I want you to say, okay, I need this and I am willing to do this to help mitigate that circumstance. Okay? All right. Because we're all going to find challenges as we're trying a new venture. And one thing you might need to overcome is that, it might be a passing fancy. It's just been obsessing in your mind for a long time. That's okay. We take all kinds here and piano teachers. Okay. So the next slide we're going to do, I want you to write this somewhere and maybe make a pretty copy of this affirmation and tape it to your mirror. Okay. But I think this is so important. I want you to take the time to memorize and or write this on your heart. I will not let the voice of my insecurities rob me of my power. Okay? And whether that is because of your creativity and how that hasn't been honored always in the past, or if that's, I want to be musical, but I have this idea of what musical looks like and I'm not that idea. I want you to remind yourself every time you come into this space and you're thinking about taking piano lessons, I want you to say, I will not let the voice of my insecurities rob me of my power. Because the truth is, I don't know a single piano teacher who is going to offhand say, I refuse to take a student who is a late learner, okay, or a non-traditional learner. I just don't. Because the people who are true and passionate educators are going to find a way to work with you. That's just their nature. Okay? So hopefully you will find either an online course or a teacher who's really helpful, who's willing to work on this journey with you. And maybe that's me in one of my group coaching sessions or in one of my online courses. And maybe that's another person. But hopefully you have identified the things that you really need to do in order to make this dream happen in your life. Okay? Last but not least, I want to end with kind of my personal motto. So can adults take piano lessons? Yes, because it's never too late for creativity. All right. If you've liked this video or if you're interested in more information, subscribe below. I'm really excited to see your journey. Check out my Etsy store. I've got some really cool tools to help you, resources and things like that that will help you understand the keyboard and understand the notes and how to read them. Um, I've got some courses that will teach you some songs. At Christmas time, I have my Songs of the Season course that will be arriving. Anyway, there are just so many resources that I'm trying to make available, and I will have links to all of those down below. All right? Thank you so much, and I hope you have a rest of your wonderful and creative day.